Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Leadership Lessons with Cheri. I am recording this on Monday, December 18, and I have to say, there will not be a lesson next week because of the Christmas holiday that's coming up, and I'm going to give you all a break. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give myself a break. It's, sometimes good to just say, here's my boundary. I'm going to celebrate with family and friends. And I'm just going to not record next week. So I will be back on January 1st with our next recording. And I'm super excited because I'm going to be revamping these a little bit. And I'm going to be including some more information for you about some leadership courses that I am putting out into the world. You heard me say last week, I have this new leadership certification, leadership development certification to be specific, and looking forward to using that to help leaders all over the world to do their very, very best. And if you are somebody that's aspiring to be a leader, you would count in that little group as well. So more information will be coming about that very, very soon. Also, I did want to let you all know that I am going to be doing some amazing deals on my programs and things that I currently have in place these last 2 weeks of December. And I'm going to be going live in my Facebook each day at 2 p.m. So you can see, I'll share it to my Cheri Dixon Consulting page. I'll keep it on my personal page, Cheri Dixon, and then I'm going to record it so that I can also put it on Instagram. But I want to make sure that I get as many people on track into the new year as possible with working on their goals and objectives of their business, their organization, and making sure that you have the supports that work for you during this time of the year. People are spending a lot of money on travel, on gifts, on food. I know I've been overspending on eating out lately. I know I've been doing that. And it's the holiday season and we tend to do that. But we also know that time doesn't stop for us, right? We do have to keep moving forward in our organizations. And in order to do that, sometimes we need a little extra support. So stay tuned to that each day through the rest of this calendar year, except for Christmas Day and the weekends, of course. This won't drop until Thursday, the 21st, but it still won't be too late that you can get yourself on board, but I'm looking for 5, no more than 5. That means a combination or a group of businesses, schools, people working on their leadership skills, or a combination. So get ready for that exciting announcement. All right, having said that, I want to talk this week about something that came to my mind as I was working on a leadership book that I'm writing a chapter in. And I'm going to call this week's little lesson, Listen Up, Leader, because that's what we're going to talk about is listening. Do you know that so many times things get confused? Not because of how it's being told, but because somebody is not listening. Each morning, I change my calendar on my desk and I have this little quote and it says, the first problem for all of us, men and women, so everybody, is not to learn, but to unlearn. And I think that that's so true when it comes to this active listening concept, because we have learned that we're in this fast-paced world, right? And so what do? We multitask. We tend to not give our full focus on something if it tends to last more than 15 to 30 seconds. We start to tune out, we daydream. Some people say, I know I have ADHD because I can't pay attention, or ADD, but could it just be that we've lost the skill of active listening? I mean, it's a real thing. And as a leader, it's so important to listen, and not just listen, but really listen. And when you're actively listening, you're seeing the person, you're hearing the person, but you're also getting the feel of the person, right? That's why I say, I think Zoom has been so revolutionary in how we communicate with the entire world now, in business and in life. However, it also takes away some of those little entities of Ooh, I could feel it in their body language because you might just see their face, right? Or I couldn't tell that they were shaking their leg under the desk the whole time they were talking, because that's going to give you an indication of something, right? So let's talk about active listening. Here are my big things that I think make you a good listener. And these are just this is just the world according to Cheri Dixon. But I've had a lot of practice and a lot of experience with this because I too was somebody that I did not particularly just become this leader that knew everything. I had to build skills, and actively listening was one of those skills. And so the first thing I have to say is, number one, give the person your full attention. Now, I know that this can be really, really hard. And let me just tell you, I tend to tune out easily. And especially if someone is going on and on and on and on and on. However, the person on the receiving end, the person talking to us, the other person involved in the conversation, they're going to notice when you tune out. So what I had to do is I had to practice. I had to sit down with people and say specifically, tell me a really long, detailed story. And then I'm going to give you a summary back. And it took me a while to get to a place where I could really stay focused. But what I learned to do are some of these other things I'm going to talk to you about in a moment. Read body language, watch gestures, hand gestures, feet gestures, the interpersonal types of communication skills. It is so important that you stay focused on the person who's speaking. It lets them know, hey, I respect you and you're here because you have something important on your mind. I'm going to give you my full attention. Now, I also had to put some boundaries in place. If it was something that I was busy doing and I wasn't going to be able to give full attention to, that's when I would typically say, can we schedule this time to do this? Because right now I'm not going to be able to give you my attention and I want to be able to hear everything that you say. And there's nothing wrong with that, especially if you communicate it in the way that it still keeps that person's information important. The second thing are those interpersonal skills. Pay attention to facial expression, hands, feet, tone of voice, rate of voice. These are going to give you a lot of clues about what's happening with this person. There are times where I would have people come in to my office as a principal, and they would be very distraught, and I could tell. I could tell by their tone. I could tell by how they were communicating and going on and on. To me, sometimes it wasn't always a situation that needed to rise to the level I felt that the principal needed to get involved. However, perception is reality. And their perception of what was happening was way different than my perception of how it was being communicated to me. The person who is speaking to you needs your attention for some reason. When you pick up on those interpersonal skills like that, it's going to give you more clues about what's really going on with the person. I will tell you, there were several times where someone would come into my office so upset about something. Again, me wondering why it got to my level. As I listened and took those clues, I, excuse me, really was able to go, something more is going on here. And then I could ask the right questions. And that brings me to my final tip for you today. Make sure that you take the time to ask follow-up questions. Make sure that you're able to summarize or paraphrase what the person is talking about. It gives the receiver, the person in talking to you, the notion that you are finding what they are talking about important. It gives you clarity as to what they're saying, especially if they're rambling on or going on in a lot of detail or upset, because sometimes that's a hard communication to really actively listen to as well. And it gives you opportunities to dig into more information. My example from earlier, from tip number 2, When I could tell something more was going on, now I could start digging deep, asking questions and say, hey, what really is going on here? Without embarrassing the person, without making them feel like they're silly for bringing this to your attention. And when I became an active listener, y'all, the dynamic between my staff and I completely changed. The dynamic between my clients and I, even now online, and I know online is hard for listening, as we mentioned, but for so many reasons, it gives us that opportunity to really understand each other, clarify things before they get out of control, and really feel the respect back and forth both ways of our time, our perceptions, our reality, and ourselves as humans. All right, so just to recap, make sure that you stop what you're doing and you're really truly paying attention to the person. Watch for those interpersonal communication techniques that people use all the time. And finally, make sure that you have an opportunity to paraphrase or ask deeper clarifying questions so you really can understand what the person is talking about and to give them that feeling that, oh, I am valued. They feel this conversation is important. Okay, guys, as mentioned, I won't see you next week, but I'll see you back here for leadership lessons with Cheri in the new year, and actually probably will release on January 4th since we typically release on Thursday. And I hope you have the best holiday season with your family and friends. And I look forward to all the great things we're going to do together in 2024.